Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We're back on the dev server, and it's time to have a look at another vehicle that they've added to it. This is the HMAS Fremantle, not entirely sure how to actually say it. This is an Australian vehicle, and it is the second one that they are adding in this update. Of course, we have the F111C, which is coming in for the aviation side of things. Well, now we have a boat for the naval side of things. This is a incredibly modern machine, by the way. I know a lot of people always ask for like more modern machines. This one is from like the 70s and the 80s, and doesn't have as crazy armament as maybe people would want, but generally is quite nice to see anyway. So, the Fremantle is in the coastal tech tree, and you will find it after the Arrow, which is another Australian vehicle, but then also near the Fremantle, which is after it. So it is a 3.0, even though it's a very modern vehicle, and the basic reason is because of its armament. Its armament is pretty weak. You have access to one 40mm QF Mark 7 gun, which is on the front here, and then you have three 50 cals, one here, and then also two here, and then an 81mm mortar too. So I don't know how this is going to work, because as you can see, this 50 cal is like mounted on top of the mortar. I don't know whether that's going to stay like that, or you're going to have to pick which one is ready, but it seems really odd. Here, let's just do a little bit of a look into it, because it looks like the 50 cal is mounted even on that bracket on top of the mortar, so maybe you get to keep both, which just seems completely crazy to me. That would be a thing. So definitely an interesting mount on the back. You can also see this very modern little boat, which is lovely to see too. So, the other parts of this are, of course, the internals. It has 24 crew, not a ton of armor, and there's also no extra armor protection, so you're going to die really quickly in this vehicle. And it has the radio station, also the bridge, really high up, so all you have to do is smash this area, and the vehicle will die very quickly. You also have three engines, which power this behemoth, with three transmissions to boot, and also, at the same time, some ammo if you want to watch it go pop. The major thing about this thing is it's pretty big. Like, something about these newer, kind of more modern machines is just their kind of size compared to old ones. So this is the Fremantle C332. Obviously, this is from the Second World War. And then when you compare it to the Fremantle, you can see how much larger it is, even though it has, you know, similar capabilities in survival. So that means that you're just a much larger silhouette, and, you know, you can kind of just get hammered by it. And that sucks, you know, but I suppose that's just how machines are made nowadays. If you have a look at the modifications, you have pretty much everything standard. You get the artillery support, which is quite nice. Some of these vehicles don't get access to the artillery support. And then also you get the improved rangefinder, which is kind of surprising, because this thing won't get a rangefinder in the standard way. Not like blue water machines, but maybe that'll be its kind of hook to the new era. For the 40mm, you have the different belts, which is quite nice. And then for the 50 cals, you also have them too, but you have no additional weaponry. So no torpedoes, no depth charges, no missiles, no nothing. Instead, you are just limited to this small amount of firepower. And generally, that would be an issue, and I think is an issue, but at least on this vehicle, you do have a bonus compared to some of the other ones that are in similar positions. The way that the 40mm is mounted is fantastic, because it means that you can get a lot of shots off going forward, without, you know, having to expose your whole vehicle. And also, you're never in those situations where, if it was mounted on the back, where you have to angle really weirdly in order to get your 40mm to hit stuff. Instead, you know this thing is going to hit things in the vast majority of situations. If you want me to kind of explain it a bit better, for example, the Type 51, right? If you've ever played this thing in the tech tree, so the vehicle has forward-mounted torpedoes, and it also has, you know, these kind of 20mm or 25s on the front, but this one is in a really weird, awkward area because of the fact that it has this shield here, and therefore you can't use it. And then if you have a look at the T-51A, which is the event vehicle, it has the torpedoes mounted on the front once again, and then here's the secondary gun, the 25mm dual setup, but it can't fire forwards, so you have to like angle your vehicle really weirdly in order to use your guns. So that is really annoying in naval. So luckily the Fremantle here doesn't get access to that. Instead, it is just able to fire the 40mm wherever it wants. So that's a huge deal for it. It isn't really fast either, so it's not anything to really write home about. And also at the same time, it doesn't really have access to anything that is crazy. You can see that it does have some kind of radar, but the radar's not working. And here you go, the rangefinder is not working, and it looks like I can't fire straight forward here. I don't know what's going on with the gun, but it's kind of stuck at a weird setup. Okay, so it is working now. Don't know what was going on with it. That was kind of odd. But yeah, if you've never used a vehicle like this before, the 40mm is going to be able to do quite a lot of damage. It's something that I really wouldn't be too worried about in terms of it dealing with damage. I want to actually see how this works. So you can use the 50 cal there, and then can I switch to like the mortar? Like, how does that actually work? It says that I'm controlling something, but yeah, it's not going. So I wonder if you can eventually control the mortar, but it just doesn't work right now, since it seems to be labeled as a tertiary armament, but you can't touch it. But you can see in the front, you can easily, you know, be able to target stuff with the 40mm. The 40mm is pretty much the standard good armament at this BR for a vehicle like this, because you can just keep rapid firing. You don't have to worry about the reload. You can just keep going and going and going. Usually the better guns that you're going to run into are stuff like rapid fire 23mm, or stuff like the L70, which is the faster fire rate 40mm that'll kind of tear you apart. But in general, it should be fine. There you go, you can see the mortar firing in the back. So the guy's using his like 50 cal and mortar at the same time, which is an interesting combo. I don't think I've ever seen that before. So yeah, you don't actually have to only have one of them. You can have both, which is pretty cool. There you go. Kaboom. You got it. Good stuff. But overall, this vehicle is really nice to look at. It's a beautiful vehicle, but I just don't know about its usability. So far in War Thunder, the only vehicle like this that has actually kind of worked in a way is the Peacock, and that's because it has ridiculous survivability when it shouldn't have. And this vehicle doesn't look like a vehicle they're going to give a lot of survivability, so it's just going to end up, you know, spawning into a match and not being too fast, as you can see, you know, being stuck at 56 kilometers an hour, and there's just going to be a lot of vehicles which are just quicker than it and move it around better. So I don't know how useful it will be. I generally think it'll be another vehicle that you grind, it looks nice, you know, you spade, and then you move on to the next one. Because why else would you play a vehicle like this? It's not really going to go along with like a bunch of different lineups or anything like that, especially since it's a 3.0 and therefore it's lower than the blue water stuff. But I suppose, you know, if you want a vehicle which considered about 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers and just smash people with the 40mm, you can have a good time with it. But unfortunately, Britain already has a bunch of those machines. As we said though, it's beautiful, and I'm sure many people will grind it out. It's another part of the Australian representation in the game, which is always positive, and also one which you don't have to pay for. So huge positive in terms of that setup. So as always, hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.